This video is for everyone on the internet.
A simp is a man who is overly sympathetic towards women in the hopes these women will reciprocate
Sympathetic towards women.
his romantic feelings for him. Simps are at best awkward guys in need of guidance, and at worst manipulative creeps who portray themselves as nice guys until women don't give them what they want. Being a simp is not a good thing. But in today's episode, I'm going to focus on the other extreme. Men who overreact and label any act of kindness or appreciation towards women as the markers of a simp or a feminist. This kind of attitude isn't just bad for women, it's bad for men. It turns them into terminally online parodies of what a man should really be. But while I do have you briefly online, if you could hit the subscribe button and like this video, I would appreciate it, because I know
Says Trent Horn, take him with a grain of salt. He is a high elo Catholic.
genuinely like this channel, and you aren't just
I would definitely struggle with simp or quasi-simperinos.
counts
I used to like Britney too much. I used to like Paige too much.
the trend.
I used to like, who's another girl I like too much? Oh, Jackie Sham. Oh, sorry. Sorry for the last name there. 3rd grade, Jackie Sham. 5th grade, Paige. And 11th grade, Jackie. Or 12th grade, Jackie. Or not Jackie, Britney.
In order to
And there's probably some
Talk
other
about
girls that I like too much.
this,
I think Sammy Robles was about regular.
it'll be
That was I don't regret Sammy Robles too much, but that was a little much too.
helpful.
What was that? 7th?
To look
One of those grades.
at pill ideology, something I
Middle school, I believe.
discussed in a previous episode with Jordan Cooper. Some online men talk about the blue pill, the red pill, and the black pill. The pills refer to the 1999 classic film The Matrix, where the blue pill allows you to live in a pleasant artificial reality, and the red pill allows you to wake up and see the grim reality of how the world really works. When it comes to men and women, the blue pill often refers to so-called simps, or at least to naive guys who think that if they are just nice, the women they desire will be romantically attracted to them. However, in many cases, a man becomes a simp when he uses nice gestures as a sort of emotional blackmail in order to guilt a woman into liking him. And women are rightly repelled by this desperate attitude. Men who take the red pill say niceness won't cut it. You need to use a combination of muscles, money, and manipulation to get desirable women to like you. And you shouldn't
That's interesting.
be too attached to women, and you shouldn't feel bad about using women, because women just try to use men anyways, so you might as well beat them at their own game. Some
This is insane to me.
men who try the red pill and fail at their goals agree that dating and romance is a game, but they say it is one the average man can't win. They say that for these men, the only winning move is not to play. They then take the black pill and avoid women entirely, sometimes
That's pretty strong.
joining movements like MGTOW, men who go their own way,
This is 1 Corinthians 7:38.
even though those ways usually end up with becoming the same thing, a cynical, terminally online person. Of course,
Interesting.
the best pill to take is the white pill, or the Christ pill. This approach to
Here we go.
life rejects the blue pill idea that women are prizes to be won, or something you earn by being really nice.
This is interesting.
It also rejects the red and black pill idea that men and women have a mutually exploitative relationship where each side tries to outsmart the other. The Christ pill would be coming to realize that God created men and women to be complementary helpmates who serve one another and
Amen.
help each
This is a huge W take by Trent.
other get to heaven despite their particular sins and human frailties. The main reason simping is bad is because it's just a really cringy version of other more aggressive forms of men manipulating women. Saturday Night Live even has a good sketch that shows how many so-called male feminists try to act like nice guys in order to impress liberal women, but when their romantic advances are rejected, they reveal themselves to be misogynistic jerks who are the opposite of what a feminist is supposed to be.
That's insane.
But the other extreme are men who are so jaded about relationships that they label any form of kindness towards women as simping. For example, I've seen men on X
Interesting.
post simple affirmations like, "I love my wife," to which other men accuse them of simping for their wives. For these men, don't be a simp has turned into don't like anything about women except for when they carry out their duty to birth and raise babies.
Yeah, that's kind of weird to me, huh?
This came up a few months ago when a meme called Wife
It's very weird.
Jack became popular on the internet, depicting a redheaded wife doing things that husbands find quirky or mildly annoying. Things like asking for an email verification code, or saying they can leave after saying bye to everyone at a party. My favorite is a medieval wife Jack peasant who asks her husband, "Okay, but if you had to guess, when do you think you'll be home from battle?" It isn't hilarious humor, but it's worthy of a chuckle, like a Dilbert cartoon satirizing life at the office. But what makes Wife Jack wholesome is that it rejects humor popular in the boomer generation that was basically, "I can't stand my wife," as embodied by comedians like Henry Youngman, who popularized the one-liner, Take my wife, please.
My wife hates housework. I bought electric iron, electric dishwasher, electric dryer. She said, too many gadgets around, she had no place to sit down. What did I do? Bought her electric chair.
In contrast, Wife Jack, in similar humor, has the message, I love my wife, quirks and all. Even if you don't find it funny, it's nothing to get worked up about. I don't get the humor in The New Yorker, but I don't go on a huge rant about it. But here's Nick Fuentes melting down over the Wife Jack meme.
If I ever see Wife Jack, I am going to kill her. If I ever see Wife Jack in the streets, I'm going to ram my car into her car. I'm going to hit her on the driver's side head on. And if she doesn't die, I'm going to break through the windshield and kill her myself. I'm going to wrap the seatbelt around her neck, and I'm going to kill her.
And when Yee brought his wife in a nude dress to the 2025 Grammys, Fuentes said this.
You know, it's not Catholic to bring your wife around naked, but I will say this, it's definitely better than Wife Jack.
Fuentes also wonders why many men who wanted to be
what is going on?
radical on the internet in 2016 now just want an offline normal life nearly a decade later. So the answer is that many of these young men grew up, got married, and acquired real responsibilities. And so they stopped being immature children who spend all their time on the internet. In his essay, Wife Jack, Icon of the Normal, Catholic author Soeb Amari breaks down the roots of anger like Fuentes's, which goes well
somewhere else.
beyond Wife Jack.
I have choices here.
And covers all the irrational rage certain terminally online men muster against other men who are in
Do I reject a small calling? Do I finish this video?
These men see nothing wrong with saying, I love a certain video game, or I love my race. But if you say, I love my wife, you are an insufferable simp to them. Amari writes, not unlike the anti-normative left, the barbarians of the far right can't seem to view sexuality through any other lens but that of domination and submission, power and counterpower. The barbarians associate femininity with democratic egalitarianism, collective social organization, solicitude for the weak, and the suffocation of the white man's adventurous spirit. The popularity of Wife Jack is a reminder that normal is irrepressible, that the average or ordinary is worth defending. Who would choose the spittle-flecked rantings of a Fuentes over Wife Jack's asking you to help her choose whether she should use the green or the red font for this year's family Christmas card? Amari also links to Fuentes ranting about how liking women is gay, which I thought was the opposite of being gay. These kinds of rants even got Fuentes highlighted on Jimmy Kimmel Live.
But I think this more than anything sums this gentleman up.
What, people calling me gay because I've never had a girlfriend? I think if anything, it makes me less gay. Never having a girlfriend, never having sex with a woman, really makes you more heterosexual. Because honestly, dating women is gay. Having sex with women is gay. And having sex with men is gay. And you know, it's all gay.
That was the Christmas episode, by the way.
Along with saying that any man who is kind to a woman is a simp, these guys say that any man who says women should have the same basic rights as men is an evil feminist. Of course, the term basic rights can be abused, and feminists are wrong when they say that this equality means women should be able to do everything men do. Feminism is evil because it tries to turn women into men by saying women should be in the workplace and not at home, or women should be able to have sex and not get pregnant, both of which are things men do. So when feminists try to turn women into men by saying there's a basic right to fight in combat in the military, they're wrong. Some discrimination between men and women is acceptable because there are morally relevant differences between men and women. But some of the discrimination between men and women can be unjust, and so it's fair for a social movement to be needed to fight for women's rights in certain historical and geographical contexts. For example, in some parts of the world, men throw battery acid on the faces of women who try to go to school or even go out in public without a male escort, and women who are raped are executed through so-called honor killings. The documentary The Stoning of Soraya M. recounts the execution of Soraya Manikcheri, whose husband Ali lies about her committing adultery, so she will be executed and he will be free to marry a 14-year-old girl. Soraya is convicted at a trial where only men are allowed to testify, and she is then executed by stoning. As recently as 2024, the Taliban reaffirmed their commitment to stoning adulterers, even though the punishment is carried out almost exclusively towards women rather than men who commit adultery. And in 2025, an Indian high court ruled that a 40-year-old man was not responsible for the death of his wife, who he sodomized so violently her anus became perforated. That's because under Indian law, it is impossible for a husband to rape his wife. Now, some people will blame these injustices solely on Islam or the Taliban or non-Christian societies, rather than on women being denied basic rights. And it's true, Christian societies have rescued women from abuses, like being burnt alive on a husband's funeral pyre, known in India as sati, foot binding in China that keeps women's feet abnormally small and injured, as well as female infanticide and abortion. But historically, Christian societies have not always treated women with the dignity they deserve, just as Christian societies haven't always treated black people with the dignity they deserve, when those societies allowed injustices like slavery and segregation to remain legal for long periods of time. When it comes to legal violence against women, St. Thomas Aquinas said a husband could correct his wife with words and blows. In 1864, a North Carolina court ruled in the State versus Jesse Black that a husband could violently bang his wife's head into the ground, leaving her sore for months afterwards, as long as he didn't cause her permanent damage. The court said the law will not invade the domestic forum or go behind the curtain. In fact, it wasn't until 1993 that marital rape became a crime in all 50 U.S. states. In early U.S. history, women and blacks weren't allowed to serve on juries, which denied them the right to a trial with a jury of one's peers. Even after the Civil War, blacks could be imprisoned simply because white businesses wouldn't hire them, and women could be imprisoned in insane asylums just because their husbands didn't want them around anymore. Records from places like the Trans-Allegheny Asylum in West Virginia indicate that women could be involuntarily committed because of imaginary female trouble or uterine derangement. Doctors believe that excitability or reading novels could cause women to go insane and require them being committed. In 1892, Charlotte Perkins Gilman published a story called The Yellow Wallpaper that describes a wife whose husband confines her to the attic in order to help her recover from so-called temporary nervous depression after the birth of her child. The story describes her descent into madness as she has nothing better to do than stare at the peeling yellow wallpaper, and she begins to think there is a woman trapped within its patterns trying, like her, to escape. The story was based on Gilman's real-life experience of being confined to extreme bed rest and not even being allowed to read, write, or paint. Gilman sought the help of Mary Putnam Jacoby, one of the first female doctors, to argue that this treatment was both inhumane and ineffective. In 1928, Christine Collins' son disappeared, and the Los Angeles police tried to convince her another boy was actually her son. When Collins told them she could prove that boy was not her son through dental records, the LAPD captain J.J. Jones had her imprisoned at a psychiatric ward for being an inconvenience, as depicted in the 2008 film Changeling.
Mrs. Collins, you still insist that the boy out there is not your son?
Yes, I do.
Please don't struggle. What? You'll only hurt yourself.
What are you doing? You can't do this.
You are to convey the prisoner to the Los Angeles County General Hospital psychopathic ward.
Finally, in the 1950s and 60s, the majority of lobotomies were performed on women to cure them of their allegedly severe female pathologies. Now, I don't like the term feminist because it's a toxic label that carries with it a lot of evil baggage, like abortion, contraception, and making women think that they have to be like men in order to succeed in life. It's similar to how I don't like the phrase Black Lives Matter because of the evils associated with the BLM movement, even though I agree Black lives certainly do matter. But I do think that it is wrong to treat someone as being less than human because they're of a different race or a different sex.
Right.
Although Pope St. John Paul II did think that the term feminism could be rehabilitated, and he wrote the following in his encyclical, The Gospel of Life. In transforming culture so that it supports life, women occupy a place in thought and action, which is in order to acknowledge. Feminist rhetoric, even among some first-wave feminists, did promote evils, but social reformers aren't perfect. Marie Shield, if you just treat it, end up, whereas the pool of young end up being stuck with an evil narcissist in your relationship, be she a woman or he a man. But it also means that both women and men need to be realistic in the expectations they have for a future spouse and not hold out for someone who only meets an impossible checklist. Right. This is especially true for women because as they get older, the pool of suitable men to marry grows smaller, whereas the pool of younger women who also want to marry those men grows larger. Treating women like people also means you recognize that women have gifts men lack and vice versa. Feminists are dumb when they refuse to recognize that men are better than women at some things. For example, here are women who think that it's false to say men are generally physically stronger than women.
Hey, excuse me?
Hello.
Do you think men are stronger than women?
No, I don't think so. I mean, like, they're physically built different.
So do you think men are physically stronger than women?
No, not necessarily. I think women can be way stronger than men.
Do you think people would agree with that?
Yes, I do.
Who's one to say what gender, depends, who's stronger? It doesn't matter what gender you are. It matters who you are.
Our next question is, can you name whatever comes to mind things that men are naturally better at than women? And what comes to your mind if I say, what would you say men are better at than women?
I don't know.
Can you name whatever comes to mind things men are naturally better at than women?
And here's Whoopi Goldberg on The View with Dylan Mulvaney saying there's no difference between male and female athletic performance.
So when you come in and you say, oh, these are men, competing against women, you're assuming that the women are weak and just can't do anything except right here. Have you seen female athletes? They know what they're doing. So I'm not sure what's going on or why this is an issue.
But that's silly. This graph from the CDC shows that even elderly men have an average stronger grip strength than
women. I'm trying not to say idiots as much, but
in 2017, the U.S. women's national soccer team lost 5.
I don't know.
8-2 against a Dallas high school boys soccer team during a prep match, which shows just how much advantage male athletes have. And this video from the channel Armchair Violence shows why even when men and women have the same weight and same muscle mass, women's muscles favor endurance, whereas men's muscles are more explosive, which allows them to use more strength. Each sex has strengths and weaknesses. Men are better at spatial reasoning, whereas women have better verbal memories, which explains why women can perfectly recount what their friends said at a party, whereas men kind of blankly stare when they're asked to do the same thing. Women are also more likely to get into minor traffic accidents, but men are more likely to cause a fatal traffic accident because they take more risks when they drive. To avoid being a simp or a jaded troll, all you have to do is recognize that women and men complement each other, and we are all broken people in need of redemption. There's good and evil women and good and evil men. When we hear about famous people acting like degenerates, it's important to call out the men and the women who act like that. That's why I've called out people like Pearl, who are quick to denigrate women who cheat, but make all kinds of excuses for men who cheat. Myron from the Fresh and Fit podcast doesn't even make an excuse. He just says men have the right to cheat.
You want to know why, and this is the realest shit I've ever said. The reason why you do not tell women sorry after you cheat on them is because you're superior to that fucking bitch. Yeah, I said it.
Likewise, abortion is not an exclusively female or male problem. While some women are coerced or forced into having abortions, many other women freely choose it to varying degrees of culpability. And while some men fight for the lives of their unborn children, many other men actively pay for abortions, passively do nothing, or just abandon the woman they've impregnated, hoping she'll get rid of it. In these cases, we should just treat men and women equally and not say one is morally inferior to the other. And if you are a man who wants to be in a happy marriage, find a woman who understands this fact about human nature and wants to grow in virtue for herself and help you do the same. If you want a woman who offers a lot of positive virtues and values in marriage, become a man who offers the same thing. Even if you don't get married, if you become that kind of man, you'll just be happy and content in life, which, ironically, makes you very attractive to women who are seeking marriage. And finally, don't take advice about women or dating or marriage from trolls on the internet who are not married and just complain about women. There are Catholic men in successful marriages, as well as Protestant men I consider solid role models who give sound advice and are not hopeless simps. These men would rightly ridicule feminist ideas like chore charts that reward husbands with sex and beer when they take out the trash. Instead, these men offer their wives mature, confident leadership that manifests itself as humble acts of service done out of genuine love. If they ended up marrying the kinds of women you would want to marry, and they didn't give up their manhood in the process, then why not listen to their advice? Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a very blessed day.
You're welcome. That's 100% viewer retention from me. You gotta love Trent Horn. Great video, guys.